I think what I'm trying to communicate when I paint and what I'm trying to describe is not so much a sense of place as something that's probably got more intensity and emotional power to it. So in the way that I go out and go walking, hopefully to prepare myself for the paintings, I think what I'm trying to really pin down is the essence of moments that perhaps just give us a sense of freedom, stillness and quiet and real moments of contemplation.
James Naughton has an obsession with light. Working from his studio in the industrial heartland of Lancashire, James creates landscapes of startling intensity and beauty from base elements of pigment and board.
I never start with a clear idea of how the paint is going to progress. What I usually do is literally work with the paint until my experience recognises something in the paint that I can use during the painting process, and that, you know, those things change all the time as I'm painting, and I like that process to be as flexible as possible, so nothing's ever set in stone. Obviously with oil paint it doesn't dry, so you can move it around and wipe it off and really play about with it until you're really happy with something that's cropped up from that process.
From his earliest days studying and printmaking in Leeds and Bolton, James has had an eclectic range of influences on his work.
I've got a lot of painting heroes. I really like Francis Bacon's approach to painting itself, and I suppose in terms again of the light, I enjoy Rembrandt's work, and funnily enough artists such as Bruegel. I think what tends to happen is that you go through periods of your life where you just get one or two heroes, and just looking at their work can really inspire you to produce better things yourself. Another of my influences is Andrew Wyeth, the American painter, who I discovered when I was living out in Maine, where he did a lot of his paintings. And I think there's a stillness and serene quality to his work, and although similarly his work is very photographic, I think there's a lot of abstract qualities in there, which, you know, he talks of them as abstract paintings, and I know exactly what he means in terms of my work. I think what I've always thought about my work is it's very subconscious abstract marks which seem to come together in some way to create a sense of the real, but it's not specifically photographic. There's something else that's happening there that gives it other qualities.
The light that infuses James's work and which bewitches the viewer is a result of James's empathy with nature. But he doesn't study the landscape directly, and he doesn't paint views of anywhere in particular.
Having been brought up in Bolton, which is a large northern industrial town, I think I've always felt an affinity with nature and a sense that being in nature is a different experience to the experiences that I have from day to day. And I think, you know, one of the influences of my work was Turner. And for me it's interesting that he was like a London lad who lived in the capital for most of his life, and I get the same sense from him that there's perhaps this romantic vision of the forces of nature, much rather than the specifics of nature. I think it's probably this sense of longing for wilderness and things that are perhaps beyond our control in an instinctive way that he found solace in, and certainly I think I do as well.
When you're in the studio with James, what strikes you is the energy and intensity with which James works. He works alone.
I think I've always worked on my own, and I always get the best out of myself when I just get long periods of time where I can really concentrate on what I'm trying to do. I work very intensively, so for 2 or 3 hours I don't really like getting disturbed, so I can really focus on the paintings. It can be quite frantic at times, and I know in instances where I do get disturbed how annoyed I can be with that disruption.
There's always huge interest in James's work, and he exhibits widely. He continues to develop a loyal following for his paintings, intrigued and impassioned by the mysterious powers exerted on our primal instincts by the forces of nature.
What I really enjoy is going to private views and displays of the work where I get people from all parts of the country who identify with the work in a very personal way, and some even think they know where the actual place is that it's been painted. And my hope is, in that sense, is that they're perhaps connecting to some of the things that I relate to whilst I'm actually painting them, and that they're picking up on those similar experiences of the sort that I described about the drama and the stillness and the sense of light. So I think you know, the way we interact with the landscape is something that's universal, and I've always enjoyed that aspect of my paintings, the fact that they seem to touch people in a way which goes away from the specifics of where they are to where they might want to be.